doing this beautiful day? It is cold. Oh my goodness. How are you doing? Unaendeleaje? Umeamkaje? How are you feeling this beautiful morning? Why are you up this early? Unaelekea wapi? Unaenda kazi? Kids are not in school. So what are you up to do this very early morning? I am here for you to educate, entertain, and exchange ideas and opinions and hear what you have to say. Karibu sana. This is Woman Crush Wednesday. Rise today. I am your host, Nina Gikunda. We have about 5 days to elections. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? I'm looking at the Daily Nation here. On page, what page is this? Whatever page it is. It is saying on page, Akisioni. On page 6, it is saying every upright man must vote. Every election cycle, it feels like 1999 all over again. 1999 was the year when mankind was turning the leaf to another millennium. There were those who prophesied about an impending apocalypse, the stroke of midnight, on the last day of the year. Man, at this time, it feels like politics is the bread that is sustaining the lives of men. I know this much is true. Man shall not live by politics alone, but by hope. As President Barack Obama said, hope is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring the enormity of the task ahead of the roadblocks that stand in our path. It's not sitting on the sidelines or shrinking from a fight. Hope is that thing inside us that insists, despite all evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it and to work for it and to fight for it. This is by Josiah Wasonga, Just a Man. And it says, this is quite interesting. Makes me ask you, are you going to vote? Are you going to have the courage to reach for what you want, reach for the leader that you want come these elections? Next week, in less than 5 days, we have elections. Do you have the courage to reach for it, work for it, and fight for it, for the leader that you want, for the country that you want for yourself, for the space that you want to live in, and for a growing and a better economy as an individual and as a patriot? Today we have Mr. Joshua Changwani. He will be here with us today to give us some voter education, which begs the question, how are you as an individual, how are you as a patriot able to filter the kind of information you allow to get into your head? There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there in regards to elections. We have opinion polls, we have people spread a lot of rumors. We've had so many things that I'm not comfortable sharing. I would like to share this with Mr. Changwani with us. What are some of the things you've had in regards to the elections and you are skeptical about, and how are you able to filter this kind of information? How are you able to tell the difference between fake news and true news? How are you able to tell the difference? Do you go through social media? Do you look at Google? Do you trust your own thoughts? Do you, seek some advice from elder people who've been in the game before? How are you able to make your choices? Still in line, are you going to vote? Are you prepared? Have you been able to make your decision in regards to the upcoming elections? Have you decided who are you going to give your vote? A wise decision, a better decision for a better Kenya. I don't want to preempt and tell you everything before Mr. Joshua comes in. So I'll leave most of the space for him to come share with us and educate us. Get your Daily Nation as well. It has quite some interesting information in regards to the politics. As we, there's a lot of interesting things in here. We also have Madam Doris Mwangi, who runs an organization that has the cause of education for all, whereby she collects books, both new and old, and she runs the cause to enable children who cannot afford or get books easily, who cannot reach out to, schools and stuff like that and be able to get books, textbooks, storybooks, any kind of book, any form of information. She will be coming here to share with us her journey, how she started, how the journey has been this far, and how we can be able to help her. You can reach out on all our social media platforms at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Instagram, and at KUTV Kenya on Facebook. I will be coming back with the traffic updates. Welcome back. We get our traffic updates from Mathri Route on Twitter. So at Mathri Route on Twitter, you can tag them and you can tag us as well if you have anything in regards to roads where you are. Thika Road, Wayaki Way, Mombasa Road, every road, Ngong Road, Barabara Zote. If you have any kind of information you feel is important to share on a public platform, please tag at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter and at Mathri Route on Twitter as well. Thika Road traffic looking so good from Roysambu to Muthaiga Square on the highway. That was at around half an hour ago. It is so nice when schools are closed. Is it schools and school buses and school going children that cause traffic, or they make it a little bit more than it normally is on the usual days? So Thika Road traffic is looking good. Namanga Road Kitengela traffic iko sawa. There's a long jam alert around Nakuru Eldoret Highway. That was around 5 hours ago. How is it and what was the cause of the traffic if you were on that road at that particular time? Please share with us and fill us in and let us know what the roads look like. We've come to the end of the traffic updates for this morning. I will be coming back with the COVID numbers. Have our COVID numbers. As at 2nd of August 2022, we have 50 new cases of a sample size of 1,584, which gives a positivity rate of 3.2%, 81 recoveries, 0 recorded deaths, 3,824,602 cumulative tests, 337,689 total confirmed cases, 331,572 total recoveries, and 5,672 cumulative fatalities. In regards to vaccines, the song for vaccines will never end. Please get vaccinated if you haven't, and if you already got the vaccines, both of them or the single dose, We were told a while back that it's important to get a booster to strengthen your immune system in regards to fighting the COVID vaccine. So we've had 27,087,910 vaccines received. Fully vaccinated adult population is 9,282,377. Partially vaccinated adult population is 2,303,051. I like to assume the partially vaccinated means that you got the first vaccine and you did not get the second. You didn't get to receive the second dose. If you haven't, please complete your dosage. It doesn't make sense if you got one and then you didn't accomplish the second dose. Doses administered to teenage population, 15 years to 18 years, 1,856,544. Fully vaccinated teenage population is 491,414, and booster doses is 1,018,563, which gives the proportion of adults who've been fully vaccinated is 34.1%. We also have partially vaccinated teenage population, 15 years to 18 years and below. It is 876,522. Please get vaccinated. We're going to have our elections next week on Tuesday, and there will be a lot of crowds. We will be mingling with other people. There will obviously be no social distance. So if you've not gotten vaccinated, please get it. I know it's never too late. It's never too late. Take care of yourself, and we'll be coming back with Mr. Joshua Changwani. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. I asked you earlier, how are you able to filter the information we are all receiving in regards to the elections this year? We have a lot of fake news and a lot of real news. We have them on social media, we have them on polls. Do you believe in polls? Speaking of polls, do you believe in polls? Do you think polls give out accurate information? Do you think it is right to follow polls, or how do we go about it in regards to polls? Do you think also polls, they create the tension that is not there, then they bring it? What are your thoughts? towards polls, talk to us on our social media platforms at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, and at KUTV Kenya on Instagram. Today we get to talk about the wave of misinformation and disinformation, the real information and the unreal information, and how you're able to filter. So let us know on our social media platforms how you're able to filter, how you get your ideal and legit information in regards to our elections. Azimio la Umoja one Kenya presidential flag bearer, Raila Odinga, is leading his closest competitor, Deputy President William Ruto, with a 6% lead. This is according to opinion polls released yesterday by Ipsos. The polls also show that 11 counties remain a battleground, with each candidate scoring less than 55%.
The race for top seat in the land continued to gain momentum, with only 6 days left before Kenyans march to the ballot to make their voice heard. Azimio la Umoja one Kenya presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga continued to enjoy majority of support ahead of August 9th polls. This is according to latest opinion polls released today by Ipsos. If elections were to be held today, Mr. Odinga will be voted in with 47%, followed closely by Deputy President William Ruto of Kenya Kwanza Coalition at 41%. Professor George Ojakoya of Roots Party will emerge third with 2.9%. David Wahiga Mauro of Agano Party will trail at 4th with 0.2%, and decided voters will stand at 4%. Counties of Lamu, Nyamira, Wajir, Mombasa, Kitui, Samburu, Nakuru, Narok, Kiambu, Bungoma, Tana River and Marsabit have been labeled as battleground, with each presidential contender scoring less than 55%. Out of 6,105 respondents interviewed, only 30% of Kenyans feel the country is heading into the right direction, while 53% feel the country is heading in the wrong direction. Ipsos polls results indicate that Raila has a strong lead at Coast, Nyanza, North and Lower Eastern and Southern Nyanza. On the other hand, Ruto has a strong lead in Mount Kenya and Central Rift. The polls also indicate that former premier has a stronghold in urban areas, while the second in command is mostly supported by voters in rural areas.
Rais wa tano wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ni nani?
The polls also indicate that Raila will be voted in because of his legacy as a Democrat and a nationalist, while Ruto will present hope and has a clear plan for the common mwananchi. Auma Evans for KUTV, Nairobi.
Welcome back. I am still awaiting your feedback. Again, our social media platforms are at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, at KUTV Kenya on Instagram, and at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter. I have Joshua Changwani with us, and he's here to talk to us about the wave of misinformation and disinformation in regards to the elections. And I asked you earlier, how do you filter the kind of information you receive? How do you filter the information you allow to get into your head? Do you check on social media? Do you ask people questions? Do you look at the gazeti, mnasomanga news, mna watching the news? Where exactly do you get the real information? Karibu sana, Mr. Joshua.
Thank you very much, Nina.
How are you feeling this morning?
Very encouraged to be in KUTV. My first time being here. It's a wonderful place.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
I hope you feel comfortable.
Very, very comfortable. Yeah.
As we start, who is Mr. Joshua Changwani?
Yes, Mr. Changwani is the Executive Director of the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium, CRECO, a 23-year non-governmental organization, and is a consortium of civil society organizations across the country. And I head the secretariat doing work around research, civic education, educating Kenyans around the provisions of the Constitution, and also strengthening the capacity of civil societies in Kenya. And what for the purposes of this discussion is that I've been an observer. for the past 4 general elections and many by-elections, including one referendum.
Wow. Mr. Changwani,
Yes, Nina.
we have a lot of misinformation and disinformation in regards to the oncoming elections, which are they're here in less than 5 days, yeah?
Yes, yeah, we have only 5 days remaining for Kenyans to cast their polls next week on Tuesday.
Do you think we're ready as Kenyans?
As Kenyans, you can see the mood is, people are already prepared.
Yeah.
Prepared in the sense that people know where they registered in the polling stations. And when you see the kind of the activities that are ongoing, right from those ones that are administering and managing the elections, which is the IEBC and the other institutions, including the National Police Service, the judiciary, and even observers, including also the media. You can see they are very involved in terms of this discussion. Even this morning here in KU TV, we are discussing about elections. And you've rightly said that there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation. But what is more important is that disinformation and misinformation did not just start with this election. It's been there, but it's now more prominent. It's become an industry that people invest in
and thriving from.
Yes, and thriving from.
Yeah.
They make a living out of this, and then because of technology and advancement in terms of penetration of the mobile telephony network, where now many Kenyans are having smartphones.
Yeah, the internet
so the social media
is just right there.
Platforms are very accessible now to many of our citizens, and the laws that govern the use of these platforms are not very clear, very clear and entrenched, including even the online code of conduct.
Yes.
When before, let's say, for instance, I get information, I don't think twice before sharing with Nina. I just forward you.
And then Nina shares with 10 other people.
Yes,
and
you
then
spend your time, like that. And now that we all belong in WhatsApp groups.
Yes.
We are in Facebook groups. We are also in Twitter, TikTok, the most popular now in terms of video sharing and all that. So information moves very quickly. And you can see even from today's Daily Nation on page 13, you can see some 9 university students who were arrested, over spread of hate leaflets,
yes.
Which borders disinformation and misinformation. If you spread these messages that non-locals should move away from this place because there will be violence, whereas actually there is no violence. So you see, this is a monster that we are facing now, and more specifically in our thriving democracy as a country, because there is a thin line between freedom of expression and misuse of the same.
Yes.
And disinformation and misinformation is also the misuse of that freedom, because you use it to affect your neighbor or the people that are surrounding you. And remember, we have 22.1 million registered voters. In 2017, we had 19 million, and in 2013, we had 14 million Kenyans registered.
So it's
increasing.
It's increasing, yes.
Including also the polling stations, which is now more than 46,000 according to the IEBC statistics.
Yes.
But what is more important is that there is a lot of information that surrounds the preparation of the elections, and the conduct of the same election, the counting of the votes in the polling stations, and transmission of those results, as well as also announcement of these results.
Yes.
And people can even announce their own results.
Yeah, because I've just seen something like that here, actually.
Yes.
On page 8.
Yes, by the IEBC.
Yes, so the IEBC is answering some of the questions that have been asked by both parties, and there's a place where I saw there was a question on how they intend to give results without violence, and there's something I've seen.
Yes, it is there. We saw what the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party wrote and raised with the IEBC. We met actually the commissioners of IEBC last week, and we had a discussion on some of these things, including technology, the voters register, and the results transmission. But you see, it's very unfortunate that the campaign processes that we engage in our country is deficient of integrity. Use all means to just acquire the vote, even if it means you use dirty language.
Yes.
You spread information against the information that is very harmful against your opponents, and it's away from the sober debate.
Yes.
So we do not have those very clear rules, including because in the previous two elections, 2017, 2013, hiring of hooligans and goons was very prominent then. Now, in these 2022 general elections, disinforming the public, disinforming the voters, disinforming the candidates is featuring prominently as a strategy, and even including disinforming the public about the IBC. And that's why you see IBC is making a lot of investments in terms of making clarifications on the information that is going around.
Yes.
And everybody is a victim of disinformation and misinformation, including the media.
Yes.
We've seen journalists filing reports, probably even they are fake sources, that they did not even find them to be fake. They thought it was very genuine. And the stories find themselves in spaces of newspapers, on TV or radio, or even on online or social media platforms. And later on, they just discover that these were fake news.
Yes.
And we have so many examples that have happened in our country. I mean, especially focusing on this election. One prominent example is when the presidential candidate for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party went to Uasin Gishu during a burial of a prominent farmer. And his helicopter was stoned.
Yes.
If you remember that incident. And immediately the incident happened while the police was trying to look at the situation. A list of 14 Kenyans was circulated to deceive Kenyans that these are people who were hired from a particular place just to link the incident of a previous attack in Kondele. But the list of the 14 was fabricated because the police had said that they arrested 14 youth.
Yes.
But it forced the police to release the accurate list of the 14.
Yes.
But the names were just people from the local. But you see, the disinformer was trying to fabricate lies to show that this was a retaliation and this was a planned, attack on this helicopter of the president. So, and you can imagine such incidents or such kind of fabrication of lies can cause tension. Because it means people can easily not become very comfortable with that kind of an environment.
Even the candidates.
Yes, even the candidates.
Yeah.
And even the kind of, the conversations that is going to make Kenyans get engaged in. It will not be issue-based anymore, but it will be, why was so-and-so attacked? Who attacked this person? If this person really stage managed his own attack, that kind of. So we reduce our democratic
we need to be able
conversation.
to narrow down.
Yes. But what is very important is that as citizens, we need to confirm the sources of the information before we share.
How do we do that? How do I do that? I have received some piece of information on my social media. How do I confirm that this is fake news or this is real news?
Like now, for instance, let's say there is breaking news, and in social media they have a logo of KUTV. Probably you take a minute or so to verify whether that is actually the true logo of KUTV, because that the disinformers are also very clever. They are also advanced in technology. Or if you have a contact of an editor in KUTV, you just, or a reporter, you make a call to say, I'm seeing this type of information and it's being, shared on your platform, or it's being purported to originate from, the breaking news is originating from your TV station. And you will get accurate information whether it is true or false. But if you share without verifying the sources, you are also injuring the next recipient of this information. Because that person also will just consume that information and also pass on to the next person. And worst of it all is even put it in WhatsApp groups or even share with close relatives or even friends. And you can imagine the psychological safety and emotional imbalance that can cause when such people are consuming false information. And then the other thing is that the authenticity of some of these information that is being given. Such information even could be just a paragraph or even 2 sentences. Like so and so has been killed. Or so and so has been involved in an accident. I mean, there are authoritative sources that can give you accurate information based on certain incidents, such as, let's say, for instance, the NTSA, the police. I saw you giving updates on the traffic. So what if there's someone who can even disinform you that there's an accident on the, let's say, Nairobi Expressway? So probably the traffic police headquarters would be the best verifier of whether that has really happened or not. Because, people can just fabricate some of these things. Just to test or even for fun. So, unfortunately, it has even gone just to make fun out of the situation or something like that.
Mr. Changwani, that's for the people who have internet. But then we have people in the village. Who are not getting their information from the internet like me and you, but they are still getting access to information from word of mouth and rumors. How are they going to verify that this is fake news and this is real news?
Oh yeah. Nina, you will be surprised that the rural setting are major consumers of information that are shared on the internet. Because, they communicate with their relatives and their people who are accessible to the internet. And they get briefs every morning or every evening. And surprisingly, the rate at which information penetrates to people who are residing in villages is even much higher than the people who are in urban areas, surprisingly. And I say that because one smartphone, let's say for instance, in a rural shopping center, can be shared among 10 youth. And you'll find them. They are just following a WhatsApp group or they are on Facebook and they are surrounding the person who is holding that phone. They are so generous. In urban areas, you can't do that because the phone is more private. Like if I take your phone, you'll be more concerned. But in the village, I mean, people are saying, they will even call themselves, come and look, come and see this. So you see, and that will make a discussion happen among the group, say the women or the youth or whatever, something like that. But you've asked a good question to say, these are people, probably they might not be accessible to the police just the way I've just said, or let's say to the IBC official, or even the political party official. When you are in a rural setting, you don't lack connection on that person who is probably accessible to more information than yourself. It doesn't harm you making a call to say, I've seen this circulating in social media, or so and so told me that there's this information that has happened, or there's this incident that has happened. You take a moment to just not getting excited, because sometimes some of these things also you have to restrain yourself. The human behavior is that you want actually to be the first one to release the news. Or you want to be the first one that you can also share with Nina. Or you want to be the first one.
News bearer.
Yes, the news bearer. So and so was shared with us this information. But before getting excited to share that information, you look back and say, who can I call about this? If it's, let's say, a criminal issue, it doesn't probably calling somebody who is working with the police. And that person, or let's say even a teacher, because teachers are everywhere. And these are people who are able to read and say, look at that twice. And there are good examples, like a few days ago, and this was when the CS Education made an announcement that there should be immediate closure of schools. And there was a circular in terms of a signed notice by the CS.
There was also another one by the TSC that was saying that it's the teachers, no IEBC, wants the teachers to participate as clerks, but then the TSC does not want
such
the
kind
teachers,
of such kind of things.
Yes.
So, but back to the example of the notice by the CS Education. You know, parents, because they have children in schools. I mean, some would say that is fake, because the plan was to close schools on Friday, the 5th.
Yes.
And the CS said it should be closed immediately,
immediate effect.
1st of August.
Yes.
And return on 10th of August. But you realize that some parents even had to doubt that, because there was a plan which had been issued by the ministry, and this one just came abruptly. So in such a case, parents would call the teachers, or let's say the school principal, or the head teachers for that matter, that is this true? When are we picking our children? We've seen this news. You know, that's part of the verification of the information. If it's about elections, it's also good to be in contact with that voter educator in the community. The IBC voter educator, or this person who has worked, let's say, in a polling station as a presiding officer, or as a clerk, or somebody who has worked, let's say, with a particular political party, because we have political party agents at the lower level.
Yes.
So those could be information verifiers at that lower unit of the, at that local unit of the society, and more specifically the villages.
Yes.
And I think this disinformation and misinformation that has not spared any sector. It is in the health sector, you saw in the corona period.
Yes.
Surrounding the vaccines, or let's say even when the pandemic
COVID,
came.
different people.
Yes, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So and we've become a society where control of this disinformation is becoming difficult. And I think at the national level, we are engaging technology companies such as Meta, TikTok, Twitter, on how we can restore responsible use of these online spaces.
Actually, I have noticed, I'm sure if there are other TikTok users who are watching, nowadays when you open TikTok, the first thing that pops up is voter information. There's a lot of voter education.
Yes,
there's a little notification that pops up, and so does Instagram as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure about Facebook, but I'm sure if it's on Instagram.
Now with Facebook, if you open a video, let's say for instance you're dealing with this first video, there will be other several videos that will come. Mostly they are adverts and you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they trick you, and of course that has even led to a conversation that is that necessary? Why should you not be exposed so that you have what's called selective exposure to certain information? Why should other things pop up which you do not even need? Because you're watching this video, let's say for instance for a political party rally somewhere, but you will see there are many other things that will come just down there that interest you to just scroll up and whatever, something, so that in a way that it also exposes you in terms of utility of your time, and even exposed to unnecessary things that probably, or even things that you look at, you search in YouTube, you know, something like that. So, but this is a whole conversation now that is emerging. And civil society organizations are now engaging these technology companies, the social media companies, to find a way on how we are promoting also freedom of expression, but again, to not also injure the fabric, the social fabric of society, by also misuse of the same platforms where people can hate each other, where people can harass each other, and of course now we have now the cyberbullying. We have, and I think that also resulted to what's called the cyber crimes unit, let's say in the police service, even with the Communication Authority of Kenya, and people now are curious to see the human rights violations that happen in online platform or in digital spaces. But again, we now have what's called digital rights. I mean, because even before reading this hard copy newspaper, I'm going to Nina, you went through, you know, a digital, you know, form of news and whatever in the morning and all that. Before even coming to this, so there's an evolution, a whole evolution of, you know, media message consumption, and the sources now are varied. It could be through digital, it could be, you know, electronic, or it could be print, you know, even pictorials. And pictorials, print and all that, they have also found themselves in digital spaces.
Yes, that's true.
Because now you can read also a digital newspaper.
Yeah.
Even the voters register now is found
it's online.
It's online now.
Yes,
I mean, it's digital, you know, information.
Yeah.
and they're saying now let's do away with the manual register and all that. So there's a whole evolution in terms of communication sector.
Mr. Changwanyi, I'm sure you are in a good position whereby you have seen so many myths and misconceptions in regards to elections.
Yes.
I would like you to share with us some and demystify them for us.
Yes,
Because you're in a better position to tell us the things you've heard and the things you've noticed that the kawaida mwananchi anasikiza sana and it's a myth.
Yes.
And a misconception.
Yeah. And Nina, let's go to the basics. You know, on Tuesday, the 9th of August, when Kenyans go to the polling stations, the 46,000 plus polling stations. So you go to the polling stations where you registered, the polling station where you registered as a voter.
Yes. With
your national identity card or a valid passport, depending on which document you use to register as a voter.
Yes.
A disinformer will say, just go to any polling station, just the way you go to any ATM, if you are a customer or a client to a particular bank. If you're in Mombasa, you can access your money through the ATM. Yeah. If you're in Eldoret, you can anywhere. So a disinformer will say, will find an educated in the sense of voter education of a voter, where instead of, let's say, for instance, voting in Kahawa Primary School where you registered, probably let's say you live in Rongai. But you are told, no, just go to Rongai, the machine. But that's not the case. That is disinformation. I mean, Kenyans the registered voters should turn in polling stations where they registered as a voter.
So, for myth number 1, you can only vote where you
registered as a voter. And then the other thing, Nina, is that when you check into the polling station, you will be identified through your biometrics, the fingerprints.
Yes.
Through the equipment which is called the KIMS kits, the Kenya Elections Integrated Management System.
Yes.
Which IBC uses to have the digital voters register and also to identify the voter. And the IBC has said that if you are not able to be identified through the poll book, through this KIMS kit, there's something which is called alphanumerical, where they key in your identity card number. Because Nina, we have only one identity card number for Nina in the whole of this country. You don't have another ID card as yours.
Yes.
Similar to mine.
Yes.
So, and that equipment should be able to identify and pop out your details to say you are actually a registered voter in this particular polling station. And they say, should that also fail, they have also a plan 3 where they have the sealed manual voters register, where the presiding officer has to inform the returning officer, and it's recorded, through a detailed form that we are in the process of identifying this voter, but the biometrics failed, the alphanumerical failed, so we would want to go to the manual register because that is where the details. And of course, this is also in prevention of the abuse, because you remember in 2017, there was a Supreme Court ruling that identified the misuse of the manual voters register.
Yes.
So they are trying to cap that. But if you identify successfully, you will be given 6 ballot papers. As opposed to the other elections, because you remember also during the Supreme Court, there was also a finding that there were more voters who voted for the presidential candidates than the rest of the positions.
Yeah, they were not interested.
Yes, they were not. They just go to a police and say, me, I want just for the president. At this time, they have said it's compulsory to be given 6 ballot papers for all the positions. Even if you are not interested to vote, you can leave it blank and you insert it to the ballot box for that particular position.
Yes.
So, and that is to account for the voters who voted in that particular polling station.
Yes.
Then the other thing is, as the voter goes to the polling booth, where there is what's called the secrecy of the ballot.
Yes.
It must be secret. It's to you, save a load for the assistant. Yes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Lakini Nina, kuna zile alama ambazo zinatumika na mpigaji kura kuchagua yule kiongozi ambaye yeye anatarajia akuwe kiongozi yake kwa muda wa miaka 5.
Yes.
So you see, we have a tick. and we have an X. All this, in the school setup system, when you have a tick, it means that is right. When you have an X, it means that is wrong. But in voting, a tick...
Can you use either?
Yes, you can use either. But a disinformer, let's say, for instance, these politicians who feel like the voters no longer want them, they will go and disinform them that if you like me, give me a tick. But if you don't like me, also put me a wrong. You get that? And it's just disinforming the public.
Yes.
But in the real sense, this person knows is correct. And there are more other marks which Kenyans also need to be taught. The use of a dash, but within the box against that candidate. Because there's the photo of the name of the candidate, the photo of the candidate, the party, all those things. Yeah. And whether independent, there's also a symbol to that particular effect.
Yes.
There's also the use of the dot. There's the back slash, there's the forward slash. But should be within the borders of that particular box. So, a disinformer will take advantage of ignorant Kenyans and not tell them this and deviate them, and more specifically, let's say from the section of, let's say, the stronghold of a particular opponent. So instead of giving them the correct information, you disinform them, you misdirect them. You give them false information. So when they turn up to vote, they are not making an informed choice. They are making a false choice out of the disinformation. Because again, voter education has to be very accurate. And that's just an example that I've given.
Yeah.
The other example is, they say when you participate in an election, you have 6 ballots. And then you have the 6 ballot boxes.
Yes.
The 6 ballots is the 6 ballot papers. Let me just use that language. And then we have the 6 ballot boxes.
Each box
has its own color, and it's well labeled.
Yes.
Disinformers will say, okay, after you mark the 6 ballot papers, you can dip in each of that. But there's something which is called stray ballot papers, where if you let's say, for instance, the color for the women rep ballot paper and ballot box, it has also to match, you can dip there. Otherwise, if you get for the women rep and you go and dip for the presidential ballot box,
that's a lost vote.
That will be a stray ballot paper.
But is it lost?
It is lost, because it will never be counted, because it was found in the wrong place. So the other thing is the difference between spoiled ballot paper and rejected ballot paper. A spoiled ballot paper, let's say, for instance, this voter has been given 6 ballot papers, and in the polling booth realizes that I was supposed to vote for Nina, but I have marked, let's say, Ken. But I feel, no, Nina should not lose. I would still want to vote Nina. So that voter has a right to go back to the presiding officer
and get another
one, and then surrender this one, and this one will be a spoiled ballot paper. It doesn't find itself in the ballot box. So that voter has a right to go back and vote because of probably that mistake that happened in the first instance. But a disinformer will say, once you've marked that and wherever, you have no right to go back to the presiding officer. So you see, people try to misdirect people.
Allow me to ask a silly question.
Please ask here, Nina. And there's nothing silly in voter education.
Yes, as a typical Kenyan.
Yes.
I have my ballot paper right here, yes?
Yes.
And I want to vote Joshua, and there's Nina, and there's the other maybe 4 or 5 candidates.
Yes.
And then accidentally I vote Joshua, but I wanted to vote Nina.
Yes.
And I had given Joshua a tick. What if I change the sign I use? Like I cancel, and then the others I give a tick. You get what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah.
Like I change whatever it is.
Just the way you, let's say, for instance, you're doing an exam, and you cross wherever. Now in ballot paper marking, that's not allowed. There are prescribed marks that are only allowed to be used by a voter. The marks that are being used in marking the ballot paper should be marks that should not trace the identity of the voter. That is also part of the protection of the secrecy of the ballot. So you cannot use initials. You cannot use a signature. You can also, let's say, for instance, because we've seen also in some elections that we've observed, just because I hate Joshua, I draw, let's say, a pig, or let's say a cow, and then I tick Nina because that's the person. But this will be a rejected ballot paper. Now it also brings me to the other segment, because you remember the spoiled, where the voter returned and it was filed by the presiding officer. Now here, during the counting of the ballot papers at the close of the polling station, and it's converted into a counting station, and now if this is found in the ballot box, it will be what's called a rejected ballot paper. And it can be informed by a wrong mark in terms of marking the ballot paper, or unstamped ballot paper, because it must be stamped by the IBC clerk in the polling station.
Yes.
These informers will just say, get your 6, but voter educators will say, once you are given the ballot paper, make sure you check that it has an IBC stamp, because there's a rule that unstamped ballot paper is illegitimate. It's rejected if it found itself in the. Remember, this is not the mistake of the voter, because the voter does not have the stamp.
Yes.
It's the IBC clerk. So ensure that when you are giving the 6 ballot papers, always look at the back if it is stamped. If it is not stamped, please don't proceed to go and use that ballot paper to choose the leader that you want.
It will be
Ask
rejected.
the presiding. It will be rejected. It will be a rejected ballot paper.
Yes.
So as you asked your question, Nina, it is very important for Kenyans to also understand this, that you can have specified marking of the ballot paper, not as per your wish, but as per the regulations of the IBC on the acceptable standards. And of course, we come also to the other segment of the population that usually get disinformed if they are not well prepared or well, let's say, facilitated. These are the people, we call them assisted voters. These are people, probably they are living with disability, because of age, they are not able to write, or because of sickness, it could be informed.
Yes.
So these are people, we usually call them priority voters. They don't queue in the polling station. Once the queuing clerk, or let's say the IBC official, such as, let's say, the presiding officer, or the deputy presiding officer, sees them, they are always a priority. They are given a priority because these are people who need to take the shortest time and go back probably to their hospital beds, or let's say
pregnant people need to go home.
Yeah, so those are priority voters, or even children with or mothers with babies.
Yeah.
Queuing for long also is very disadvantageous to them. So the affirmative action of priority is given to them. Now, if not necessarily that a mother with a child needs to be assisted, but can only just be given priority, because this person could have gone to school and be able to make a decision.
Yes.
But now there is this elderly voter, in 90s, or let's say, or a PWD on a wheelchair, and maybe the fingers, are no longer there, and whatever, something like that. This category of voters are allowed to choose people who can assist them, and they go with them to the polling stations, and they take what is called oath of secrecy, and they are only allowed to assist one person at that time. So you cannot be a professional voter assister in a polling station all the time. So one person is allowed to only bring person. There is no misuse of the same. So the oath of secrecy.
Allow me to ask. There's someone who may be asking out there. What if I don't have someone that I'm coming with from home?
Yes, exactly.
Can I use a clerk? Can I use a
question.
person I have found at the polling station to help me out?
Yes, the person who is supposed to arrange for that assistance is the presiding officer. But under the presence of the political party agents or the independent candidate agents. So they choose, like for instance, in a polling station randomly, the agents who can witness that assistance of that particular voter, so that there is no voter manipulation in the polling booth by the election official. So there must be witnesses, and those witnesses are the party agents who have already taken allegiance in terms of code of conduct, electoral code of conduct, oath of secrecy, on not really disclosing the affairs of the polling station, and just remain faithful and loyal to the operations of the polling station. Yeah, so there's that alternative. If you don't pick somebody to assess. And of course, disinformers will tell such kind of voters, if you go to the polling station, no one will assist you. You go to the polling station when you are sick, or with your baby is going to suffer. But they have a democracy, they have civil and political rights. The constitution guarantees them the right to participate in an election.
Yes.
So they should be motivated that when I go to the polling station, my welfare will be looked into, and no one will make me suffer.
Yes.
Let's say long queues and whatever. Just like those voters, because the polling stations close at around 5 p.m., those voters will still find themselves on the queue at around 5 p.m. The law allows them to remain in the queue, and the polling station will be closed when the last voter who was on the queue before 5 p.m. does the final cast.
So if I come after 5 p.m. and get into the queue, I am not going to vote?
No, you are not, because you are late. The polling station opens at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then closes at 5 p.m. in the evening.
Yes.
And it's converted into a counting station. You get that? Yes. Where now the ballots are going to be sorted and counted. And then the results are tallied. Tallied in the sense that for this particular candidate, and then now there is the declaration of those results in that polling station.
Yes.
So there is no other outside place where those results are going to be declared.
Yes.
But now what is going to happen there is results transmission. For the member of the county assembly and the member of parliament, or the member of the National Assembly, it's going to the constituency tallying center. For the senator, the women rep, and the governor is going to go to the county tallying center. Then for the presidential, it's going to go to the national tallying center, the Bomas of Kenya.
Oh, now we have people we can call empowered voters there.
Yes.
And we have some of these empowered voters are the ones you're saying are disinforming those who are not capable of getting first-hand information. Yes. So the individuals who are empowered, let's call them empowered voters there. How can we be able to get to those people who are getting misinformed and disinformed and giving them the right information?
Yeah, Nina, this is a very complex subject. Disinformation is a deliberate fabrication of lies.
Yes.
Fact. It can also be done by these empowered voters.
Yes.
Because either skill-wise or knowledge-wise, they are a bit more advanced.
Yes.
Misinformation can also be done by people who are not empowered. Just like because I do not have knowledge on the looks of a ballot paper, and probably the kind of the information that I've been equipped with is just misinformation. We have been made to just believe, like for instance, if I'm marking a ballot paper, I am supposed to use my signature. And people will say, if you use your signature at the time of the counting, probably you'll be given some amount, which is very wrong. And people believe that because during campaigns, there is use of money. And they could also suffer from the hangovers of, like for instance, even during voting, those who are counting the ballots will also be seeing who voted for who and will be distributing money. Misinformers and disinformers are very complicated people. But this is a subject that as Kenyans, we must understand it from a broader perspective and practice. And we must get concerned on equal terms, not to just say, these are people who are knowledgeable and these are people who are not knowledgeable. And it is a fact that this is about winning elections. And the formulas are not defined. You would think that it's only narrowed down to the manifestos, the agendas of the candidate. Yes. But there are those ones even who win out of these funny games that they do. By just disinforming Kenyans, that kind of stuff.
And suspecting Kenyans.
Yes. So, but I think we've reached a level now of even moving beyond the civic and voter education or even the political education and say, let's create awareness on disinformation and misinformation and equip Kenyans with knowledge on how they can detect fake news, on how they can stop the spread and sharing of fake news. Yes. And even advance the conversation and say, how do we entrench the values of online code of conduct? Like for instance, before I use my gadget and share this information with Nina, how am I obligated to say that whatever I'm sharing is going to affect Nina negatively or this particular group of people negatively, just like the leaflets that we saw being raised by the Minister for Interior. You can imagine the amount of resources that have been deployed, because I'm told also they have now sent tankers and the contingent of GSU officers to those particular zones. You can imagine the wasting of resources just in response to such kind of fake leaflets.
Yes, and rumors.
We could have used it even to build dispensaries, for other more important things.
Yes.
But this is making our elections to be very expensive. And of course, it erodes the trust that we can have in our electoral process. And Nina, for your information, we are known as a country to be spending a lot of money in administration and management of elections.
Yes.
They are saying that they spend around 2,500 shillings per voter, which is one of the most expensive elections in the world. It's one of the most elections.
2,500
Yes,
shillings per voter.
even we trust our money with technology, ATMs, M-Pesa, and all this, but we cannot trust our vote with these digital platforms.
Yes.
Because the technology that is being employed by IEBC is just to fasten the process, register the voter, identify the voter, but voting is manual. Counting of these results is manual. The results transmission, just in terms of preliminary, is done digitally, but in terms of verification and confirmation and the announcement is done manually. So you can imagine the kind of
the amount of work,
and even time and resources that we deploy in these exercises, that if we had ethics and values and say, if Nina really campaigned very well and has a manifesto, let's vote for her for these 5 years, and she delivers on the assignment. I mean, in other countries, elections are a silent activity that you will not even know that there is an election in this particular country, such as in Australia, which they have even made it to be compulsory, and you can vote from wherever you are in the world. Now here, we have to categorize our voters in a sample diaspora voting stations, those who are in prison, and we haven't told them that you can only vote for the president.
Yes.
Then the rest you can vote for the 6 positions. But you can imagine, IEBC officials have to travel all the way to Washington in the US. And those people who are in, and you can imagine the size of the US, those ones who are, let's say, in Texas, all the way to California, they have to travel all the way to Washington, near the Kenyan, where the Kenyan embassy is, to go and vote, because that is where the polling station is. Very expensive. I mean, so we've complicated this thing.
I'm sure amongst many other Kenyans, I'm learning this for the first time.
Oh, thank you.
I know there's diaspora voting, but I did not know that that's how it works.
Yes.
I did not know that's how it works.
Yeah, just like the way, if Nina, if you're a village, let's say, for instance, I'm just giving an example, let's say in Abaswen, in Wajir, and that is where you registered as a voter, and you are here in Nairobi, and on the Tuesday of the 9th, instead of just being here at work to inform Kenyans and educate them about the election day, you have to travel all the way to Abaswen to go and vote, and then you come back here.
Wow. I'm curious about what's CRECO.
Yes.
What is the role of CRECO?
Yeah, CRECO stands for the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium. It's a consortium or a network of civil society organizations. Our primary responsibility since the inception is to do civic education.
Yes.
And voter education, to educate Kenyans, just the way we are doing this morning.
And for sure, personally, I've learned a lot.
Because that is the business we do.
Yes.
And it is educating Kenyans about the provisions of the Constitution. What does initially it was about the reform.
Yeah.
So we got the new the Constitution in 2010. So the work of educating Kenyans on what does the Constitution say. And I'll give you a good example. Let's say, for instance, this Constitution of Kenya 2010 gave us 2 levels of government. We have the national government and we have the devolved functions. We have the devolved government, which are 47. So Kenyans, our members in those counties, educate Kenyans on those particular counties. Let's say, for instance, the budget making process, getting involved in public participation so that you can make a decision on how your resources are going to be utilized, and even make proposals on the allocation of those resources according to your priorities. Let's say, for instance, the different people in the society, women, youth, old men, business people, let's say CBOs. Let's say, for instance, there is no dispensary in that particular area, and they need to be educated that you don't need to wait for Nairobi to get that dispensary. You have the opportunity to make that decision when you participate in public participation and you say we want to allocate 2 million to build a dispensary because our mothers and children or the sick travel like around 15 kilometers or 20 kilometers to get medical services, something like that. Then now, when it comes to elections such as this now, we are in partnership with other civil society organizations, including also faith-based organizations, where we do monitoring of elections, observation on the election day, and we have platforms such as the Elections Observation Group, where it was founded in 2010 and has been observing general elections and by-elections in this country. So, and we will give our verdict on how the elections were conducted. And we give a verdict on how IBC performed. And we also compare with other elections that have been conducted in this country. How political parties, conducted themselves. They did their party primaries in April, and we also observed those particular. How even the media participated in, informing Kenyans about the 2022 general elections. And remember, in 2007, the media also was a victim, and we saw the media also being taken to ICC.
Yeah.
That kind of, I'm just giving that as an example. So the responsible journalism also comes into play. And also other players such as voters, candidates, and even the application of the law, the rule of the law, including Kenyans will go to the judiciary, either High Court or Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court, to seek justice. So we monitor that process and inform and document. And documentation is very important because we are able to make reference on the best practices of 2013, 2017 to inform the 2022. And even as we engage for 2022, we are also looking forward for 2027. Like, for instance, now, our prayer is that we use the experience of the 3 elections and 1 referenda, which happened in 2010.
Yes.
For instance, to have IBC be fully independent. Because IBC, in terms of its preparation in the management and administration of elections, they have cried to say they do not have resources. And they only depend on treasury, public coffers, to be allocated a budget according to their plans. But what stops us as a country from having what's called the IBC fund, which is already provided in the Elections Act, just like the Judiciary Fund, which it was awarded to them 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that makes them also to plan in advance, so that procurement issues of printing ballot papers and all that is something that they are not in a rush towards the last minute. And you saw even the saga now, let's say the Venezuelans and all that kind of stuff, just because things are being done in the last minute and everything becomes very suspicious. So if things were planned from advance, so we interrogate those. And of course, our main focus is to speak for Wanjiku, the citizen. That is the demand side. This person who is not in a position to come to KUTV and explain some of these technical issues, we simplify them for our citizens to consume, so that they are able also to make decisions without necessarily relying to a superior person, let's say in government, or let's say this official who is in a particular commission. So at least we are engaged from a point of knowledge. Yes, and where possible, and we feel like Kenyans' rights are being deprived, we also go to court through what's called public interest litigation. And we've done that a couple of times. And you must have seen in the BBI.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, that was also a good example.
Yes.
Yes, because this was a burden for this country.
A few minutes ago you said that you are looking into, you saw 2012, 2017, and now 2022, and now we've not gotten to 2022 yet, but we're really looking at the 2027. There's a rumor that was going around. Allow me to also give you rumors.
Yes, please.
And I'll not reveal my source, but it was being said that at some point the IEBC was looking into using an electric method of voting, whereby you just have to put your fingerprints for you to choose your candidate. Do you think we are we there yet? Are we?
No, the law provides currently for manual voting, not digital voting. But the law.
Do you think we are?
I think we are ripe to transition into digital voting.
Yes, like
and
Australia.
I think that will inform our reform advocacy, and our electoral reform advocacy in the next electoral cycle.
Yes.
Post next week, where we are also going to convince Kenyans to say that we are spending a lot of resources in elections. Like for instance, Nina, what stops us as a country from adopting when you register as an adult? When you've attained the age of 18 years, when you acquire your national identity card, becoming automatically a voter.
Yeah, you can do it at the same time.
Yes, because we have departments of government, the Civil Registration Bureau, which is in charge of issuing of these identity cards. But of course, we are always suspicious of government because of our history, where they've been abuse of civil service, and we can't trust them. We need to have an independent body. But what stops them working hand in hand with IEBC, so that when newly registered at the Kenyans to acquire their ID card, the names
automatically
they are submitted to IEBC for the update of the register.
Yeah.
Where probably the application form to acquire a national identity card, that person even indicates the preferred polling station to vote.
Yes.
So that we just get, and it's being done in South Africa.
And it will save time and money.
Yes, it's been done in South Africa.
Yeah.
And that is what they have done. And I think in South Africa they try even to register these people at the age of 16
yes.
So that by the time they are in 18, when they become eligible voters, at least their data would have been captured by the Electoral Commission. And there's nothing that stops us from adopting that. The other thing is even as we adopted technology, we've seen technology being adopted very successfully in the Kenyan National Examination Council,
yes.
Primary, secondary,
yes.
and other examinations. We've seen digital backing, the use of the M-Pesa, the use of, M-Shwari, mobile banking, and wherever. It's been done successfully. I think it is high time we also become bold as a country and say, let's embrace technology,
yes.
even in our voting processes,
yes.
so that at least we reduce on the expenditure.
And I believe it will be easier.
It will be very easy.
Yes.
And I think that's a conversation. And we will also borrow best practices that have happened in other countries. I know Australia, for instance.
Yeah, Australia does it, and
yes,
it works
they
so
do
well.
it very well. And for them, elections is just an ordinary exercise. If you are not voted in, it's not a big deal. But unfortunately, in our country, elections is a matter of life and death.
It is.
Because of the amount of expenditure that candidates invest or political parties invest in an electoral campaign. And some of these things even don't make a lot of sense, because let's say, for instance, an MCA using to a tune of around, let's say, 30 million. But when you look at the monthly pay and the allowance, when you combine all even for the 5 years, does not even reach that amount.
No.
But now that will just be a motivator for this person to be a thief. A corrupt person.
Stealing public funds.
Yes, I mean,
they must have the
a return of investment.
Yes.
And as to when they can break even, I'm quite sure these guys cannot even work for the first 2 years. They will only just remember to go back
I need my money back.
Yes, and that's why most of these MCs are never voted back. If you've done some statistics, even per words and wherever, something like that. Because, people get offended because they don't serve the people.
Yeah. Wow. Mr. Joshua, we have come to the end of this conversation.
Thank you very much.
I would really appreciate if you spoke to that voter out there.
Yes.
Speak to that voter, encourage them to vote and why they should vote, and recommendations on how to go about it.
Yeah.
And how to verify information as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nina. Elections is about livelihood.
Yes.
You're making a decision for how your life is going to be in the next 5 years. Because you're making a decision to put somebody in public office to preside over your taxes.
Yes.
Because we all pay taxes.
We do.
And if we all pay taxes, those taxes should be able to provide you with services.
Yes.
And these services are returned back to citizens through government programs at the county level and at the national level. So voting is about livelihood. Mm-hmm. If you refrain from voting, it's like you've distanced from making your life better. Mm-hmm. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, or whether you have a source of livelihood, mm-hmm. because the policies that are going to be put in place by people who are elected in office is going to also affect your business. Mm-hmm. It's going to affect the way your children go to school.
Yes.
It's going to affect how you get, public utilities such as roads, such as water, such as medical care, and even employment, opportunities. Yes. Because if you have a government that is driven by people who are strategic thinkers, mm-hmm. let's say they occupy the National Assembly and the Senate and the county assemblies, or let's say the presidency, or let's say the gubernatorial offices. If we have the right people to hold these positions, we will enjoy our being Kenyans and even be patriotic of our country. Mm-hmm. And you must have seen also the cost of living has really gone high.
Really gone high.
But it's informed by the decisions that these public office holders make. Because if there are people who can be triggered to just approve, let's say, borrowing and the misuse of these resources, or scramble for public tenders, mm-hmm. just to enrich themselves, and all sorts of vices, in the management of public affairs.
Yes.
The voter has the first opportunity of public participation through an election. But public participation does not stop at the election day. There is subsequent public participation opportunities, mm-hmm. at the county level and at the national level, provided by spaces that is being managed by these people that we put in political office. Mm-hmm. So if we are involved in this process by determining the kind of the people who think on our affairs as citizens, is when we can enjoy the services that the government is giving us. Mm-hmm. But if we have wrong people occupying these public offices, is when we will suffer. And we will not have any voice to agitate for our rights as Kenyans, whether it's about roads, it's about water, it's about our children going to school, mm-hmm. or even it is about also international relations, how we relate with our neighbors, or even how we protect our country.
Yes.
So, Kenyans, this is an opportune moment. It is the third time under this Constitution of Kenya 2010, mm-hmm. and it's also a transitional election, where we are going to get a new president, mm-hmm. and we have a president who is going to retire, and we have many governors. In fact, more than 22 are going to retire, and we will be having new governors coming on board. Mm-hmm. And these are people who hold huge resources and power at the lower level to ensure that services reaches the people. Mm-hmm. So staying away from voting is also like staying away
from making the right decision.
from bettering your life,
yeah.
as a Kenyan.
Yeah.
And what is more important as we participate even in the elections, peace is paramount. Yes. Peace is paramount.
Yes.
We have to coexist and integrate ourselves regardless of our tribes, regardless of our status in society, to ensure that Kenya remain peaceful, because we don't want to see another 2007, 2008.
Yes. True.
We want to have a cohesive country that we enjoy the kind of the decisions that we make in the ballot, and we say these are our leaders that
and
we put in, and we made this choice as our country. And remember, Article 1 of the Constitution says sovereign power belongs to the people, and no one is above the law, or no one is above the Constitution.
Yes.
So the decision that we are going to make on Tuesday next week, it will be also a determinant on how our Constitution is going to be implemented, mm-hmm. so that we have the principles of separation of powers, where we have the parliament, we have the judiciary, and we have the executive arm of government, mm-hmm. at the national level. Mm-hmm. And at the county level, we have the executive arm, and then we have the legislative arm through the county assemblies. So as Kenyans, as we participate in these elections, peace is paramount. We must safeguard it and protect it jealously, and ensure that we hold the people who are perpetrating violence to account.
Yes. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Nina.
Thank you. And make sure you vote.
And you also make sure you vote,
yes.
Nina.
I will do
I'm going to vote.
I'm also going to vote, because I know I'll be here the day after So I will make sure to show that I voted. I will.
Yes, and your vote is your secret.
Definitely. To everyone else, your vote is your secret. Make sure to filter the kind of information you're getting. Thank you so much, Mr. Changwani. If anyone wants to reach out to you for personal...
No problem. Our social media channels for Creco is open, and citizens normally engage us.
Yes.
We are going to have even WhatsApp lines, and we can always share that in public. We would want Kenyans to report cases of misinformation and disinformation, and we are able to assist in verification of that particular information and inform Kenyans on how they can debunk and even do some explainers to educate Kenyans on those rumors and fake news that will be going on around. And we will be doing this in partnership with other civil society organizations and IEBC and other institutions such as the National Police Service to just ensure that we remain in a peaceful country. Yep.
So dear Kenyan, if you have any information you need to verify, reach out to Creco. They will verify for you your information. Please, peace is paramount. Cast your vote. You are responsible for the leader that you choose. Let's make this country a better place. We will be coming back with Doris Mwangi here to tell us her story and share with us her journey on education for all. I will see you after a short break, and I'm also awaiting for your feedback on all our social media platforms at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, and at KUTV Kenya on Instagram. I will see you after this short break.
Welcome to Children's Corner. Welcome to Children's Corner.
On this episode of Technovation Show, we bring you an innovation that brings convenience to our sisters.
I decided to come up with this project where I can help girls during their menstruation period, especially girls from informal settlement who cannot afford to purchase pads. When you tap a registered RFID card, it will send a signal to the relay. Then it will activate this two servo motor to release sanitary pads which are packed in these boxes.
Things you know are right. Nothing worth the gain you attain by sudden flood. Don't you know that I still care for you? We flip drop, I needed more and more of you.
Far East, welcome to the empire. Far East, because they find true love. You will see what your love has done for me.
Call the academic, the rat and I. What alone I get and I go live another life. Telling them again, but I'm not in a damn vice. Life, I get chance too often. But also with the sadness and invest in a laughing. Time you take a stress, lifetime passing. Tell them so you love them for yourself.
So be sure to try this at home. It's a fun experience.
back. Feels good to be here. Unaendeleaje? How are you keeping warm this morning? How are you feeling this morning? We've had a very powerful conversation with Mr. Changwani. That was really nice. That was very insightful as well. We've learned a lot. We've been reminded why you should be a registered voter. Okay, at this point, if you've not registered, the opportunity is gone. But if you are a registered voter, we have 22 million registered voters. So please make sure you vote. Please make sure you cast your vote. Make sure you make this country a better place, because if you don't vote, your zero vote is equivalent to a bad vote. So you'd rather just vote and make this country a better place. Also be able to make sure you filter the kind of information you're sharing or receiving. Not all information you're receiving is real news. There's a lot of fake news being propagated out there. So before you share any information, verify and make sure that you are going to share legit and valid information. And we've been told by Mr. Changwani that if you need to verify the information, you can reach out to Kreko on all social media platforms. So reach out to them. And he's also advised, if you have someone you can call from a media house, a media station, a police station, reach out to them. Verify your information before you share it. It could get you in trouble if it is wrong information. It could get anyone else in trouble. It could cause unnecessary tension, especially at this particular time. We are 5 days to election, so you need to be careful, and you also need to be very sensitive. I'd like to get into a story before I introduce to you Miss Doris, as she shares with us her story and her journey with education for all. President Uhuru Kenyatta is on a 3-day working tour of Nyanza and Western Kenya regions, during which he will launch several development projects. Yesterday, he officially commissioned Kenya Shipyards Limited's Kisumu shipyard and witnessed the flotation of the new 1,800-ton MV Uhuru 2-wagon ferry.
In his last days in office, President Kenyatta took to Kisumu County, where he launched the Kisumu Shipyard, a project that was started in May 2021. The president says the facility will have the capacity to construct, refit, convert, repair and maintain ships, as well as undertake maritime services within the Lake Victoria and other inland water bodies.
Is actually ahead of schedule. And so therefore this shipyard here in Kisumu will have the capacity to construct, to refit, to convert, repair and maintain ships, but also to undertake maritime services within the Lake Victoria region and other inland water bodies.
The 2.4 billion shillings MV Uhuru 2 is the first locally manufactured ship by Kenya Shipyards Limited, working with Dutch partner Damen Shipyards, a flagship project aimed at positioning Kenya as a regional shipbuilding hub and unlocking Kenya's immense blue economy. The successful manufacturing of MV Uhuru 2 at Kisumu Shipyard saves taxpayers 1.3 billion import bill, and its deployment will grow Kisumu Port's haulage capacity to over 3,060 tons by complementing the 1,260-ton MV Uhuru 1 assembled in 1966.
So ladies and gentlemen, Kenya Shipyards Limited's role in the development of our blue economy is set to attract foreign direct investment, but also to direct domestic investments in the long run. Its catalytic effect will trigger growth of ancillary and support industries and businesses that will have a cascading effect across the whole of the national economy.
Referring to the official opening of a clothing company located in Kisumu called Dada Export Processing Zone Limited yesterday, President Kenyatta encouraged the young people to consider starting business instead of limiting themselves with their ability.
Yesterday, Your Excellency, again, history was made because after almost 2 decades, we were able to have the train coming back to Kisumu Dala, to this great city of Kisumu.
I'm glad, sir, also to report to you that out of the 3 major tasks that you assigned the shipyard, particularly this one here in Kisumu, all of them are largely completed and are waiting just a few touches.
With only 6 days to the August 9th election, Kenyatta, who has endorsed Azimio la Umoja One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga as his preferred successor, is making his final visit to Kisumu County as head of state. Tracy Nganga, KU TV.
Welcome back. I'm still awaiting your feedback on all our social media platforms. Again, they are at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Instagram, and at KUTV Kenya on Facebook. Let me know if you're voting. If you're not, please tell me why. The only reason that is valid right now is that you didn't manage to register by the time they were closing registration. That's the only valid reason that we have right now. But if you are a registered voter, tell us where you're voting from. Tell us how you're able to filter the kind of information you get, how you're able to, distinguish between fake news and real news in regards to the voting that is upcoming. As we get into that, as I wait for your feedback, I have the amazing Doris Mwangi here with us. Doris Mwangi has an NGO. That was for Emotion Education for All, right?
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm excited.
Excited?
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Who is Doris?
So, I'm Doris Mwangi. I'm 24 years old. I'm a medical student at the University of Nairobi. I'm starting my 5th year, October this year. I'm also a quality education advocate, and I'm also a resolution fellow.
A resolution?
Fellow.
What is a resolution fellow?
So,
who is
a resolution fellow? So, there's this organization called the Resolution Project. It's a non-profit organization based in the US. So, they usually fund young people in university who have projects that positively impact the community. So either for profit or non-profit. So they usually have competitions where you pitch your ideas, and when you get to win the fellowship, you're awarded the fellowship, and now you're called a resolution fellow. And the fellowship comes with seed funding to kickstart your project, mentorship, and also the networks to help you implement your project. So that is what a resolution fellow means.
Oh, nice. So which project did you win with the resolution fellow?
So our project is called Kibera Kanan Library and Youth Empowerment Center, though we changed the name to Mshauri Ushirika Resource Center. So basically this is a partnership between our organization, Mshauri Youth Empowerment Program, and a school in Kibera called Ushirika Children's Center. So we are trying to create an educational resource center for children. So this is a safe space for children to access educational opportunities and resources. So this comprises of a public access library for children, where they're able to access curriculum and non-curriculum books to encourage them to have a reading culture and also to pursue their dreams. Then we are working on the ICT center. So basically it's to encourage digital literacy. So we want to implement a program where children are taught basic computer literacy and also coding for children using games to pick their interest, to cultivate our problem-solving skills. And the third component is the mentorship program now for children.
Before you tell us all of this, tell us again. Tell us how this journey started, where this dream came from.
So I'd say my journey hasn't been a one-time thing. It has been something sort of a growth. So I grew up in Isiolo. I was raised by my aunt, and I'd say my family, my aunt and my mom, tried as much as they could to give me the best education that they could give me. But in as much as I went to school, we had cases of sometimes girls used to drop out of school because we could have cases of teenage pregnancies, and then we could also have cases where girls didn't join Form 1 simply because they were married off. So I have a friend who actually was married off after class 8. So when I went back to Isiolo in Form 2, I found that she was married off as the third wife, and she had 2 kids at that time. So it got me thinking why this girl wasn't able to have these particular opportunities. And for her, it was something that was normal. She was excited about it because it was part of the culture. You see, so at that time, I'd say my journey began at that point, but I did not know, because I felt like I didn't have the resources or the voice to do anything about it. So after I joined high school, I topped in water in my KCSE, and I joined Equity. And at that point, I started volunteering as a mentor for the Wings to Fly scholars. And we used to do mentorship programs all over the country. I was based mostly in Nairobi, but we had other programs elsewhere. So I realized that I could use a mentorship as a platform to empower children. So we gathered together with my friends in university and came up with the idea to use mentorship as a tool for empowerment, to reach out to kids who are in the under-resourced areas, those mashinani areas where probably hakuna these opportunities, and also to reach out to other kids who are not Wings to Fly scholars. So we started with a school in Githunguri, and we went and we did the mentorship program there. And at that point, we realized that this school didn't have books. Like, the kids didn't have books. So we were telling children, how to read, how to, pass in exams. But they were asking us,
what are we reading?
So what are we reading? Because they didn't have adequate books. So at that point, we went back, we sat, and then we asked ourselves, so what can we do for these kids? Because we were almost like recently graduated from high school. We still had our textbooks, and also we had friends and networks who had their books. So we did a sort of a mini book drive. So we mobilized our friends to get books, and then we went and donated books to that particular school. So about 2 months later, the principal told us, the kids are excited, they are reading, they're coming back to school to read. Could you come back for a follow-up mentorship session? So we went back to the school, and then at that point, it hit us that, this can be a plan, this can be something that we can be doing. So we actually now went to another institution and replicated the same. So that's how we started. So basically, out of using what we have at that point, and then realizing that there is more need, and looking within ourselves and looking at the resources that we have and how we can use those resources to fill those gaps. Yes.
Wow. So what motivates you every morning to do this?
I'd say, if I look at my life, the opportunities that I have had are through education. Me pursuing medicine, and me getting to a point where I can actually empower children. And imagine this is just one person who has had this particular impact through the people investing in my education.
Yeah.
So I usually tell myself that no one chooses to be born where they are born, and no one chooses to go to a school that is under-resourced, you know. So I could be any of those kids. It could be me. But fortunately, I am in this position. So what would happen if we decide to, to empower other kids, 600 kids or 700 other kids? Imagine the kind of impact that would have.
Yeah.
So just imagining that, what if that person was me? And trying to imagine that, what if this child was given the opportunities that I've had? The kind of impact that could give.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges you faced as you are, getting into the journey?
So I'd say the first challenge would be, the main challenge for young people like us is always resources.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you want to do so much, and sometimes it becomes frustrating because where do you get the money?
You feel like you could do better, but then there's no enough resources.
Yeah. So you just have to be restricted to the small things that you can
access.
do, you can access, right?
Yeah.
Then the second challenge would be the fact that, we are young. So even when you go to offices, I started this after high school, I was 17 years, right? And I'm 24, so it's been quite a journey. So when you go to offices and you talk to people and you try to explain to them your idea, at first they dismiss you because they see that you're young.
You're too young.
Yeah, but when they get to listen to you and they get to understand your ideas, they tell you, hey, for your age, you're thinking ahead of your time, and I think you have something, and I think we can work on that. Then the third thing would be probably sometimes because we usually work with volunteers, sometimes volunteers, people are usually excited about giving back. And most of the time, people are excited about just coming to the school to take pictures for social media. But when people realize that it's something that takes commitment, you know, you have to invest yourself in something. Sometimes people
and also
just
invest your own resources.
Invest your own resources. So sometimes people just
They pull out.
You see. So you have like a team, and then at some point it just
dies
falls
off.
off. Yes,
So
yes.
every single time you have a new team, you're working with a new team.
I'd say not a new team, because I have consistent members. We have like a team that has been supportive throughout, and it would be wrong for me to say everyone is pulling out, because I'm sure they're also watching here. But I have an amazing support system. I have people behind my back who usually work behind the scenes. And for us to say that you're doing this particular program, they're actually the people who do the most of the work. Yes. And then the other thing is, in as much as we have a few volunteers who probably pull out, we also have people who are more excited about joining us, and we also have networks of people who refer us to opportunities. Yes.
I'm sure there's people who are curious on how exactly it is you're able to collect these books. How do your book drives run?
So I'll talk about resource mobilization.
Yeah.
So in terms of now the challenge of resources, this is how we tackled it. So first of all, we usually do online book drives. So we mobilize on WhatsApp, on Facebook. We tell people, you know, we have this particular book drive. These are the kinds of books that we're looking for. If you have new or gently used books.
Or you have specific books you look for?
Yes. So we look for curriculum books. We look for story books. You know, we look for dictionaries, atlases, those reference books. And basically, just books that can pique the interest of the children and help them, you know, grow in their vocabulary, their grammar, and also keep the reading culture. The cognitive development. But the priority is always the curriculum books first. Because if you put up a library for a school and it doesn't have curriculum books, kids won't come there to read.
Yes.
You know, yes. So we usually run the book drives online. And then we tell people to contact us. So once someone has books and then they contact us, now we arrange on how you are going to pick the books. The second part is now we reach out to organizations that donate books to public libraries. Because again, for us to do our work, we have to work through partnerships. Another way of mobilizing resources is through partnerships. So you look for partners who actually do the kind of work that you are doing. So there's an organization called Books for Africa. We have Saimeka Foundation. We have Maktabas Inc. So we usually reach out to these organizations and we tell them we are looking for these kinds of books. Now the problem with this, the main challenge with these books is the fact that these organizations usually donate books donated from US. So it's usually...
They're not curriculum based.
Yes. So for these ones, we usually go and select mostly storybooks because, you know, the kids that we have will have more preference towards the storybooks.
Yes.
Because the storybooks are usually very illustrative and they're very interesting to read and they're very diverse. Usually have stories of Batman, I don't know, Superman, Cinderella. So it's usually interesting for kids to read those kinds of books. So that's the second bit. So when we organize with those particular organizations and they usually ask, they ask for accountability. You know, where are you taking the books? How about what if they get lost? So once they've vetted you, they tell you where their warehouse is and then you go and pick them. So for Books for Africa, we've gone for books at Mutituandei, Maktabas Inc. Their warehouse is at Ruiru. Yeah, so that's the second bit.
So in regards to how you have to give information on accountability, how are you accountable for the books? Like, do you normally go back to check on how they're doing, whether the books are still there or they're still helpful?
So for the books, so once we collect the books, when we started initially, we were just giving out books as donations. We hadn't thought about the sustainability part because again, I said we were young, but we are growing and this is a journey and it's a learning process and I'm proud of that. So when at the moment when we donate books to an institution, we usually stamp them, we usually inventory them. So say after a year or so, we'll come and check whether the books are there, and if the books are lost, we want to understand with the school
where.
Yes, and if you're setting up a library with a school, then the school has a role, because we usually have a contract we sign with the school, and it outlines our responsibilities and the responsibilities of the school.
Yes.
So one of the key responsibilities of the school is to provide security and also a librarian to monitor the library, so that in as much as kids are accessing the library, they're not able to like go with the books at home, because that is a catalyst for books getting lost.
Yes,
'Cause
yes.
they're not like stealing, they just take the books at home and then they forget it's there, you see. So the librarian part, the inventorying part, the stamping part, and also the checking part helps us ensure that
The books are not getting lost.
Yes, yes.
Oh, nice. And what are some of the success stories you have?
So I'd say, so last year, in 2020 to 2021, during the COVID period, so we had a number of people losing their jobs because of the pandemic, and some of the parents to our children, the kids that we mentor, lost their streams of income.
Yeah.
So we had a case of one girl who was in Nakuru, where we had mentored a parish in Nakuru, and they reached out and they said, well, we'd like to pay fees for our child, but amefukuzwa shule and we're not able to do that. Is there a way that you can help us, get funds for this? So we said we can't mobilize school fees for just one girl. Let's look for
multiple children.
Yeah, multiple children. So we reached out to institutions that we've worked with. So we've worked with Nakuru, Kariene in Meru, and also Ushirika in Kibera. So we got a number of kids from those particular institutions, and then we did a fund drive online. That was like the biggest fund drive we had done. And it was surprising the amount of support that we got, because we also got people from US donating from us. Someone just reaching out and saying, I don't know you personally, but I've seen your work and I can see that it's helping children. I'd like to give this to help this child go to school. So I'd say that is a success story for us.
Yeah.
Because 2 kids from Kariene, once we paid their fees, the ones who were in Form 3, we were able to clear their fees for Form 3 and also Form 4, that contribution. Then the second bit would be, when you have reports of when the school calls you and they tell you, the books that you brought, the kids are reading them, or once you've mentored kids and then they graduate from high school and join university or TVET, and then they reach out to you, because kids usually reach out to me on social media and they tell me, you mentored me, I know you don't remember me, but I've joined my dream course and I am happy, and I wanted to say thank you for that. So that's actually happy. It makes us happy as an organization.
Motivation to keep going.
Yes, it encourages us. Yes.
What are some of the future plans you have for your organization?
I'd say one, since we operate virtually, so if we need to have physical meetings, we usually do that in the schools that we work with. That's the first one would be to have a physical location, probably offices. The second bit would be to make our organization sustainable, because one of the biggest challenges, again, with young organizations is sustainability, because you're relying either on donations, on grants. So just making our organization fully sustainable so that it's able to regenerate and sustain itself. Then I'd say the third bit would be to now include youth in our programs, because again, once we mentor children in primary school and high school, they are graduating to become youth, right? So we want to have an entrepreneurship kind of program where we teach youth skills and also teach them how to commercialize those skills. So you identify needs in your communities, and then you find out, you try to identify what kinds of skills can we use to solve these particular problems, and also how can we commercialize them, to help them earn a decent living, from things that they love doing. And we also teach them things like financial literacy, managing that particular kind of business. So I'd say in 5 years, that's where we are headed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you intend to do any other things other than just giving out books, to expand in helping in any other ways?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, for the program at Ushirika, it has 3 components. So I mentioned the library, and we've exhausted that. But the second bit is the digital literacy program. So we are setting up a computer lab for the school, and the plan is to have to have 2 programs. So we teach basic computer literacy so that we have any child passing through that particular school or that community, that Laini Saba community, is able to at least use a computer, use PowerPoint, Word, Excel, you know. The basics of computer literacy, yeah. And then the second bit is now coding, to encourage children to use technology as part of, you know, problem solving. So that's the second bit. Then the third program that we are having and will continue is the mentorship program. So our mentorship program is usually mostly run by university volunteers. So they usually cover aspects, psychosocial aspects that affect children. Because you know, you might pay for fees, you might provide books, but again, a child is not performing as they should, probably because they are being violated somewhere, you know, maybe they are not mentally healthy, you know. So we want to usually tackle aspects such as, you know, academic excellence, to show kids how to read the proper strategies. We're including a reproductive health, so things like gender-based violence, things like menstrual hygiene management. We're also talking about mental health, because it's important to acknowledge that a child hana hiyo the just academic aspect. You look at a child as a whole. So you look at ways we can help children know how to identify their stressors, you know, how to cope with stress, how to support one another, and, you know, other aspects of, you know, life skills. So things that they can use outside there. So can they use, you know, financial literacy, so that when they graduate, when they come out of high school and they start getting money, they know how to use that money. Yes.
I'm curious, have you ever tried to approach brands like Longhorn, Kina Savanis, these brands that write books and even sell books, and how was the approach for you?
So,
or rather their response as well?
So right now we're working on, we had called a Longhorn some time back, Longhorn Publishers, and they said they usually, for us to get donations, they gave us the guidelines. So to do a proposal, write the problem, the need, and also the kinds of books that we need, and then we submit it. So we are working on the proposal. We need to submit it. We also approached, I'd say, one of the what do you call this, book companies. What are these?
Like a bookstore.
Yeah, bookstores that we usually purchase books from, and they gave us a considerable amount of discount for the books that we are purchasing, for the books that we are getting. Yes, so I'd say that. But in terms of approaching publishers, we are now working on that, writing proposals and also submitting them for them to actually donate books to us as part of corporate social responsibilities. Yeah.
That's interesting. If you were to give a call to action, what would you tell the people out there?
I'd specifically address young people, and I'd say that it's important to create a platform for yourself, because, like for us, or rather for myself, for the opportunities that I've gotten them because I use social media as a tool for change, for marketing myself, you know. Then the second thing I'd say is invest in yourself and also apply for opportunities. Again, for the Resolution project that is funding our project, and also MasterCard, it was us that we believed in ourselves. We actually worked on, you know, we went and the extra mile and learned how to do proposals, how to pitch.
Speaking of MasterCard, what are some of the big brands you've worked with in this whole drive?
So I'd say we've worked with MasterCard, MasterCard Foundation, and we've also worked with the Resolution project. Yes, so those two companies.
Oh,
yes.
I've cut you short as you were saying.
Yeah. So I'd say, you know, yes, applying for opportunities, because opportunities are there, and it's just about you finding the right opportunity for yourself and looking for the requirements for that particular opportunity, and, you know, giving yourself a chance, and then having networks, useful networks. Again, even me being this interview, it's someone who recommended me for this particular interview. Even for those opportunities as Akina MasterCard, it's friends who have actually recommended us and told us, you know, there's this particular interview. So your networks, it sounds like a cliche, but actually your network is actually
your network.
Your net worth, yeah. And also don't give up, because sometimes you usually apply for things, you try things and they don't work out, but consistency is key. Because for us to get to where we are, we have been doing this for the past since 2017 basically. So that's a long time, and it gives us a basis. And if you try something and it doesn't work out for you, if it's something yenye tuseme unaona it's not working out for you, it's not wrong to quit and start something else. It's also okay.
Keep doing something until whatever
you find
out.
what works out for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
Wow. A call to action, people can bring books or something.
So we are collaborating with a Rotaract Club of UN Afya, that is the Rotaract Club in medical school. And we are working together on a joint book drive. So this October we are going to have, we're still working on the logistics, but we are going to have a hike for books. So we hike probably, we're going to find a destination. So once we do it will be an educative hike, but at the same time, all the proceeds that we'll get from that particular hike will be for the establishing the library at Ushirika. So I'd say probably people to follow us on social media. Facebook, we are MYEP, Mshauri Youth Empowerment Program. IG, we are Mshauri YEP. And Twitter, we are Mshauri_YEP. So once we have the hike, you can actually support us by participating in the hike, because it will be adventurous, it will be fun, but at the same time, it will also be for a good cause. Yes, and also if you're interested in community service and helping children and working with children, and that is your field, you can also reach out to us on our social media platforms, and you can also work out a plan on how you can actually be impactful. I'd say that.
Can they still donate books, or that was just for the first part?
You can also donate books. Again, if you reach out to us, we can organize on how we can get books. So the kinds of books that we're looking for, again, are curriculum books. So old curriculum books and new curriculum books for the CBC. We're looking for storybooks. So storybooks especially for African authors, because we have most of the storybooks from US, and we want our kids to get exposure about where we are from.
Culture.
Yes, African culture, and things that are familiar to them, and also reference books. So atlases, kamusi, dictionaries,
Log
Bibles,
books.
yes, logbooks, all those. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doris. This has been very, very insightful. If we want to get you personally, where can we get you?
So I am on LinkedIn as Doris Mwangi, Doris with double R. I'm also on Facebook as Doris Mwangi, on Instagram as Doris Mwangi. On all platforms, I'm just Doris Mwangi. So you can reach out to me personally on that. I usually talk to young people, and if you need help in terms of writing proposals or reaching or pitching or identifying grants that can work for you, if you have an idea, that's also something that I'm passionate about. You can also reach out to me. Yes.
Wow, that one I'm definitely interested. I will look for you. I personally will look for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nina.
We really, really appreciate it. So if you need to reach out to Doris Mwangi on all her social media platforms, thank you once again for your time. If you have books to give, if you feel like you want to participate in community service, reach out to Doris. She has shared with us her journey and her story. I will be coming back after this short break. I'm still awaiting for your feedback on our social media platforms at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, and at KUTV Kenya on Instagram. I will be coming back with some news updates.
Karate is one of the most dynamic of all martial arts. A well-trained karateka is able to coordinate the body and the mind, thereby unleashing tremendous physical power at will. Today, we meet young boys and girls learning about the sport.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits. The road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane. Keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
Welcome to Children's Corner. Welcome to
Children's Corner.
Children.
So last week we took you through halitosis and dental hygiene, and this week we're going to be talking about dental diseases and their treatment.
We have the dental cavities, we have the gum diseases, we have the oral lesions or oral cancers, then we have the trauma of the mouth or the injury of the mouth. There is an age where the parents need to check the baby, like 5 to 6 years. They need to be checking. Let even the baby be shaking the teeth.
Sasa ni bora zaidi, mwanzo mpya, mambo mapya. Msimu mwingine wa Boresha Kilimo unakuletea teknolojia ibuka, kilimo mseto, uongezaji thamani. Teknolojia dijitali ya mauzo inawezesha ufikiaji wa masoko. Soko moko yako, mahangaiko yako ya kufikia masoko yamefika kikomo, manake tunao Mkulima Young.
What Mkulima Young does is it connects farmers with the market.
Hii ni Boresha Kilimo kwa ushirikiano na Mkulima Young. Atafutaye hachoki na kichoka kesha pata. Kwa makala maalum ya kilimo, ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 6:30 kwenye kipindi ukipendacho Boresha Kilimo.
Welcome back. Thank you so much once again for joining us up until this far. We've had quite an interesting, series of launches this morning. Earlier on, we had Mr. Changwani. Mr. Changwani has urged everyone, one, a call for peace. Please be peaceful as you are approaching the elections. And one way to be peaceful is by filtering the kind of information you receive and the kind of information you share in regards to the oncoming elections. You have about 5 days to the elections. So right now, there's a lot of information going around. There's a lot of myths, misconceptions, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. So one of the ways to be a peaceful and a patriotic Kenyan is being careful on the kind of information you share. The information you have may not be a big deal to you, but it may spark up some negative emotions to someone else. So be careful the kind of information you share, be peaceful, and also we said earlier, please go vote. If you don't go to vote, it is equivalent to a bad vote or a spoiled vote. So you might as well just go make the right decision. That decision you make that morning on the 9th of August, which is next week on Tuesday. That decision you make on that morning as you choose your leader, as you elect your leader from wherever it is you are voting from. You're making your country a better place. You're making your home a better place. You're making your standard of living better by whomever it is you are going to vote for. Also, I just had Miss Doris Mwangi here sharing with us her journey on education for all, where she donates books to students that are lesser advantaged, children who cannot access books as freely as other children. So she has a drive whereby she donates books, she buys books, she's partnered with NGOs and other bigger brands to help children get education, to help children get access to quality education. And she called to all of us, if you have curriculum-based books and African written books, you can reach out to her at Doris Mwangi on LinkedIn and on all other social media platforms if you have books you'd like to share, and also if you'd like to stretch your hand in terms of community service, if you would want to join in her organization in helping children, donating, building libraries. She's doing some amazing work. You can join her. Her social media handles are at Doris Mwangi, and Mr. Changwani also shared with us if you'd like to, talk to the organization Creco in regards to anything elections, if you have questions, if you have to, critique or confirm the kind of information that you have, reach out to them at Creco on all social media platforms. There have been quite some educative interviews we had there. So if you have anything you'd like to share with us in terms of feedback, at KUTV Kenya on Facebook, KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, and at KUTV Kenya on Instagram. We will be coming back to you with the news updates. And into our news updates for this morning. Azimio coalition led by their flag bearer Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua took their campaigns to Kisii County in a bid to woo more voters to rally behind his candidature. Raila promised to eradicate the entrenched cases of corruption in the country, stating that it is a major hindrance to development. Kanana Kithenji with that report.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition vote hunt today was directed to Kisii County, headed by their flag bearer Raila Odinga and the Azimio One Kenya counterparts. Speaking at the event, Odinga said that corruption is posing to be a major threat to the development of the country, promising that once elected, he will strive to eradicate it.
Lakini sasa ni karibu miaka 60 wale madui bado wamo, ama sivyo? Sasa kwa sababu gani wamo? Tumegundua kwamba ugonjwa wa 4 iliingia naitwa ufisadi. Bila kuua ufisadi, huwezi kuua umaskini, ugonjwa na ujinga.
On her side, Martha Karua called upon the residents of Kisii County to rally behind their candidature, stating that their reign will bring stability to the country and unify the people of Kenya. Other political leaders present at the event also urged the residents to rally behind the Raila Karua ticket in the forthcoming polls.
Hii kiti imeenda na baba. Mkitokea, hii kiti imeenda. Kila mmoja wenu hakikisha amepiga kura hii. Hii kura hii ni ya maisha yako na ndugu yako yeyote ambaye anaishi nje ya Kisii. Sio kura ya mchezo hii.
With the finish line just in plain sight, presidential hopefuls are intensifying their efforts to tug at the heartstrings of the people to rally behind their candidature in hopes of groping the much coveted top seat. Kanana Kithenji, KUTV.
Moving on, Deputy President Dr. William Ruto led the Kenya Kwanza vote hunt in Nyeri and Murang'a counties with several stopovers in Narumoru, Nyeri town and Murang'a town. Ruto rallied his supporters to come out in large numbers on the election day to guarantee a win. The alliance exuded confidence over victory come election day, claiming their main rival was in panic mode and is trying to use state agencies to try and tilt the votes.
The vote hunt mission continues countrywide, with the Kenya Kwanza coalition led by its flag bearer Dr. William Ruto intensifying its campaigns in Rigathi Gachagwa's backyard Nyeri County for final touches on the campaign trail. The second in command took on his main rival Raila Odinga over the issues he addressed with the IEBC, saying Odinga was in a panic mode, while also thanking President Uhuru Kenyatta for agreeing to hand over power to the legitimate winner.
Sasa bwana kitendawili, wewe sasa usikie mambo ya rais. Amesema usipochaguliwa wewe usilete fujo, usipange maandamano, usijiapishe, wewe enda nyumbani polepole. Si mnaona hawa jamaa tayari wameona tunawashinda? Wameanza kujaribu kuleta ukora. Mara kitendawili anasema ako na shida na IBC, mara ako na shida na register, mara ako na shida na sijui form sijui gani, mara ako na shida na Jepukati. Si anataka kupanga ile maneno tena, ile ya kukataa matokeo ya uchaguzi. Lakini tumemwambia bwana kitendawili, this year hatuwezi kukuruhusu upange mambo ya maandamano. Si namna hiyo?
Mathira lawmaker and Dr. William Ruto's running mate Rigathi Gachagua has also promised to improve working conditions for police officers in case the duo clinches power in the next week's poll.
Ndio hawa polisi waache kusumbua raia. Hii serikali ya mahasla haitaki hasa wasumbuliwe na polisi. Vile tumeongea na nyinyi, tukiongeza nyinyi mshahara mkuu wa bwana, mtulie, mkule kitu kikubwa. Hii mambo ya kitu kidogo muachane naye.
Earlier, Ruto led his team for a prayer meeting at his current home, where he called for a peaceful election and power handover while asking the clergy to pray for the nation.
I want to ask Kenyans from all walks of life, from both sides of the political divide, to be peaceful so that we can work together as Kenyans and know that after the election, God's will prevail and we will march forward as one united nation.
It's no doubt that this is a high-stakes election, and the stakes are even getting higher 6 days to the D-Day, all in an effort to garner as many votes as possible. Mwaka Samuel, KUTV.
Still in matters politics, the Mombasa Jubilee Party camp has warned the Kenya Kwanza Brigade against their continued disrespect and insults to President Uhuru Kenyatta. They alleged that UDA and the entire Kenya Kwanza alliance had sensed defeat and had resorted to cheap sideshows. The Jubilee Battalion says President Uhuru is still in office and deserves respect, as Cecilia Nyambura reports.
Mombasa Jubilee Party in the coastal region has warned the Kenya Kwanza Brigade against their continued disrespect and insults to President Uhuru Kenyatta. While addressing the media at a hotel in Mombasa, the Mombasa County Jubilee Brigade General Secretary Nelson Akwaka said that President Uhuru is still in office and deserves respect, and Kenya Kwanza should keep him off their politics.
We, the Jubilee Party members within the Mombasa and to an extension coast region, are seriously perturbed by the abusive statement issued by UDA party in Mombasa, abusing our party leader, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, on matters relating to the port. Our party leaders and the President of the Republic of Kenya must be respected and left out of the order.
His sentiments were echoed by Janet Mirobi of the Jubilee Women Wing, where she further defended UDA's claims that the president had failed Kenyans, saying that Ruto is the biggest beneficiary of the Jubilee government for the last 10 years.
Jubilee oye! Jubilee oye! Jubilee oye!
She also refuted the entrance of former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko into the Kenya Kwanza camp, saying that he adds nothing to them.
Mambo ya Sonko kuingia, there is no different will come, kwa sababu hakuna kitu atakuja kufanyia watu wa Mombasa zaidi, na yale atafanya yeye na sisi tunafanya yetu. Jubilee iko ndani. Tunamuunga rais wetu wa tano Raila Amolo Odinga na Martha Karua. Hao ndio tunajua na tuko debeni na wataona.
Akwaka and other brigade members pledged their continued support to President Uhuru, promising to mobilize members and the electorate to turn out in large numbers to vote for the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate, ODM leader Raila Odinga and Martha Karua on August 9th. Nyambura Kabura, KUTV.
Moving on, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i yesterday held regional security meeting in Molo, Nakuru County in efforts to strategize and prepare security for the forthcoming general election. He said the government will deploy a contingent of a general service unit personnel in Eldoret, Kuresoi and Molo as part of efforts to assure residents of their safety. Bentura Kwamboka with the reports.
6 days to the general elections, Interior Cabinet Secretary is doing last preparations to ensure security is beefed up all over the country days before and after the August 9th polls. Speaking at a meeting in Molo, Nakuru County, the CS noted that 8 suspects who were circulating leaflets in Uasin Gishu County, reportedly warning some communities to leave Uasin Gishu, have been arrested and are waiting to be arraigned in court as the investigations into that matter commences.
We have been briefed by our colleagues from the National Police Service on that incident of leaflets, and I believe you know by now that the police have got 8 suspects or 8 persons of interest in custody in connection with the circulation of those leaflets. We hope that some of those will be taken to court today and investigations continue on that matter.
However, Matiang'i has assured the region of a heightened security following an increase in the deployment of police surveillance and GSU patrols, affirming residents of their safety and calling them to cooperate with them in the process of maintaining peace and order.
We are placing more personnel on the ground here in Molo, in Kuresoi, in Neswit, in a number of places around here, just to be ready. They are not here for any particular aggression. They are here to assure Wananchi and to demonstrate to Wananchi that we are ready to rise up to any challenge that may come up. We are going to deploy additional personnel in Eldoret, in Uasin Gishu, and we are going to increase our surveillance and patrol along, the borders of this region and the neighboring regions. And so Wananchi should be calm and confident that we will go ahead with the elections without a problem.
He has also called on politicians to exercise caution in their utterances that might cause any disruption as the country nears home stretch of its campaigns and on to the general election.
We've done so well so far. We are just days away from polling day. I want to ask our leaders, please exercise a sense of restraint, think about the country, think about the language and the words that you're using before you speak out to the public. We do not want to ban our country just because there's an election next week.
These are some of the efforts the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government have put in place to see that there is peace and order during the electioneering period. Bentura Kwamboka, KUTV.
Thank you, Bentura, for that story. Moving on, Health Ministry PS Susan Mochache has decried current HIV infections among the youth, terming it an increasingly major economic burden. Addressing community health workers, local administrators and village elders at Nyahururu in Kisii, the PS disclosed that the national government spent 25 billion shillings annually to cater for the HIV infected.
HIV has been reported to be on the rise in the country, thus leading to high economic costs in terms of managing the HIV patients. Addressing community volunteer health workers, local administrators and village elders at Nyabururu in Kisii, the Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache said Kisii and Nyamira counties in the large Gusii region claimed 1.2 billion shillings out of the national figure for the same.
Ukimwi ndio mtoto asipate hatapewa, huyo hapo na ukimwi, mtoto amezaliwa hapo na ukimwi, hiyo mzigo inaingia katika serikali.
According to Mochache, the death toll from the HIV and AIDS was at the rate of 60% on mothers and 25,000 others on children every year nationally. She also compared the 5,000 mortality rate with a similar one from COVID-19 in 2020 and urged the community to embrace preventive as opposed to curative measures.
What's HIV right now? Their body is compromised. Their science has shown they may not live their optimal life. They may end up living their life much earlier because they're already exposed to the medicines, the harmful effects of the medicine.
Muchache equally expressed fear over rising cases of gender-based violence, where out of 10, 6 were on children. The PS dismissed the notion that the social vice was being blamed on poverty.
Lakini tunasahau hii ambayo sisi tunaita the public threat, the silent public threat. Every year we are losing 5,000 youths to HIV and AIDS.
Even though HIV has an impact on the economic sector, the government has put in place some measures to ensure the infections are contained. Imaset Stacy, KUTV.
We have come to the end of our news updates for today, and equally the end of our show today. But right before that, allow me to get back to you shortly after this short break.
Bila shaka, mbiu ya mgambo ikilia, kuna jambo. Na sasa, katika KUTV Rise Today, makala ya TBT. Tunaongeza kuni, tunawasha moto. Tunaingia barabarani kuangalia hali ilivyo. Takwimu za corona na kupa habari zinazojiri na zinazokuhusu na kujuza na kukumbusha yaliyotendeka siku kama hii ndani ya historia. Kisha na kuletea wageni na wataalamu, tudadavui, tufahamu na tuchukue nafasi yetu kama vijana katika uongozi, uchumi na masuala ya kisiasa nchini. Na joto likizidi, tunaingia uwanjani, tunachambua spoti ya Kenya. Ni kila Alhamisi saa 1 hadi saa 4 asubuhi, nami Vincent Maina almaarufu Ojwang mtoto wa Mariam, ndani ya KUTV, a new experience.
So last week we took you through halitosis and dental hygiene, and this week we're going to be talking about dental diseases and their treatment.
We have the dental cavities, we have the gum diseases, we have the oral lesions or oral cancers, then we have the trauma of the mouth or the injury of the mouth. There is an age where the parents need to check the baby, like 5 to 6 years, they need to be checking. Let even the baby be shaking the teeth.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have box exercise, we'll have kata box, just name them. Big time player, trip too big and I went flexer, Tina said gym, The show comes every Thursday from 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. Keep it locked, make sure we keep fit, and that's it from me to you. Let's be fit. I went flexer, Tina said gym, too hot like a heater. My neck down froze like winter. I'm very young, nigga. Trace on the picture.
Today we are speaking to the people who are in charge of where you reside, where you do your business, or where you go for entertainment or socialize.
for governors, we don't want to mention their names. We have MPs. We have also properties for institutions and for other companies that we're also managing for.
What property management entails, it entails from the time the owner of the building signs the contract with Great Mwanzo, whereby the owner of the building engages Great Mwanzo Properties to be managing the building on his or her behalf. That is, the owner signs the necessary or the required documents. Then from there, we as Great Mwanzo, we come in, we engage the tenants. We also ensure that all the tenants per individual, they also sign the lease forms, because now you have to identify, because you cannot be having tenants in your houses and you don't know the people who are living there.
Thank you so much for joining us once again. Welcome back as we are winding up. I hope you've grabbed something or two from today's conversations. Again, please be peaceful as we are approaching our voting day, our election day on the 9th of August, which is in about 5 days from today. You have enough time to, think and rethink and keep rethinking your decision on the kind of leader you intend to choose for wherever you belong to, or rather the kind of leader you would like to elect on this coming general elections. Your president, your governor, your senator, your women rep, your MCA, every single leader you choose to elect has an impact on your life as a Kenyan. So as you make your decision, please be wise. Think twice about it. You have more than enough time. We have some feedback here from Avush. Good morning, Woman Crush Wednesday edition. Nicolot, thank you so much for joining us. And Brian Mutonyi, I am watching. Thank you so much, Brian, for watching. We have Peter Ranking Photography. Big up KTV Kenya. A nice show and topic today. Thank you so very much to each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you so much for sending in your feedback. I will be looking forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday, same time, same place. You can catch me tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on Beyond Limits. Still right here at KUTV. We have so much content. You want some news updates, you want education, you want some entertainment. This is the place to be. I have been your amazing host, Nina Gikunda. Join us on our social media platforms. The conversation should definitely continue at KUTV Kenya on Twitter, at KUTV Kenya on Instagram, and at KUTV Kenya on Facebook. A big thank you to our producers, our directors, and our camera team. From us, adios.
This is survival. Politics, them tribal. Can't afford to stand by. Watch children die. Mothers cry. Joblessness, senseless suicide. We just give them small money. Wash